Hi, everybody. Welcome to another conversation with Carrie and Dani. It's a great day. We had a whole bunch of rain in the Midwest here the last few days, but things are finally starting to dry up a little bit. And Dani, I hear you've got a little story for me.
I do. I was having a chat with some friends that had a bit of a crisis probably 2 days ago now. And after we finished our, chat about other stuff, I don't know how it came up, but one of my friends who lives in Perth, she said, oh, she's had some religious disentangling to do, and she said I didn't pray for ages, but I've started praying again. And I said, oh, that's really cool. I said, oh, on that whole prayer thing, for some reason, it just triggered a thought in my mind. And I said to her, oh my goodness. I said, on the subject of prayer, I said, I can remember being taught growing up a Seventh-day Adventist, and there's different versions of Adventism, as we know. So I can remember being taught that. Let me see if I can get the story straight for you. So this is how it goes. I was taught that God knows the future. So he's past, present, and future, right? Now, Satan doesn't know the future. So the devil doesn't know the future. But the devil has power on earth. I mean, look at what he did to Job and etc., etc. So the devil has power on earth and he can make things happen. Okay. And so this also linked into horoscopes and stuff. They were like, oh, so only God knows the future. The devil doesn't know the future. So horoscopes and things can't be right. Um, but the devil can make things happen. So therefore, here comes the clanger, the big one. Therefore, you should not pray out loud because the devil can hear what you're asking for. So, did you get taught this as well?
I have some memories of it. I'm not sure I ever took it very seriously. And I don't know, I'm not sure if it was my own little cynical self, but I mean, God's got more power than the devil. So what if the devil hears what we're asking God for? But I mean, I suppose that, and I remember hearing something about, oh, how the devil can like can't actually read your mind, but he knows you well enough that he can tell by your facial expressions or what's happening, that what you're thinking, but he can't actually read your mind, but God can read your mind. So yeah, a lot of weird
You're
stuff.
right. I forgot about those ones too because I remember right through even into adulthood that it was really hard sometimes if you're doing your Bible study at night to look like you weren't doing it. So the devil wouldn't know that you were reading stuff, so then he wouldn't distract you. And I can remember even as an adult, talking to friends that were like spiritual mentors to me and saying to them, "Oh, is it really that bad to pray out loud?" Because all my other normal Christian friends prayed about out loud about everything.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it was just one of those really weird things. And I'm like, oh. And of course, when my friend said, oh, yeah, I was taught that too, I thought, is
Uh-huh.
this just an Australian thing or how much did it hit the other half of the world?
I'm just gonna quick Google while we're chatting, what Ellen White might say about praying out loud. This
Okay, because I don't remember it being linked to her. I just remember it being linked. Just it was just what we
it,
got told.
this cat is being very affectionate, but he won't let me type. So
I'm really curious to see what you find. I'm also really curious to hear how many of our listeners got told the same story.
yes, that'd be interesting.
Um, See how
Oh,
widespread these things were. Oh, what'd you find?
okay, hang on. So it's the AI overview, and says Ellen White encourages praying out loud in private where only God can hear, as it helps maintain focus and express deep soul hunger. However, she cautions against overly loud or long public prayers that exhaust the body, turn secret prayer into a performance, or mistake emotional noise for the Holy Spirit. You got to watch out for that emotional noise.
Try a different question then. Ask, and then see if it gives a quote. Ask, does Ellen White say the devil can hear our prayers?
Ah, yes.
So yeah. Um, okay, so while you're Googling that, there's some other rabbit holes that attach to this whole conversation as well.
Yes.
Um, I don't know how we ended up here. And so this is also something I can remember talking to my spiritual mentors about.
Uh-huh.
Even some probably last time I brought it up would have been sometime in the last 5 or 6 years. I brought it
Uh-huh.
up again talking to someone because I've had this come from friends in America and I've had it come from friends in New Zealand and Australia. This has come at me quite a few times over the last 15 years.
Hmm.
So some of my friends were Messianic Jews, some of them were um, religions I can't remember the name of actually. And so I was told that I was praying to the devil. I was praying to the devil because there's nobody in the Bible actually called Jesus. And if you don't actually pray to somebody called Yahweh, then you're praying to the devil. So has you been told this one before, Carrie?
That's new. I mean, I have come across people of different religious bents, in and out of Adventism who are very sensitive to the names that you call God or call Jesus when you're praying, that name is very important. And I can maybe see their point, but to say that because you're calling Jesus or by not Yahweh, that he's not going to hear your prayers. And I think that, we all have different names for each other, like my husband's first name is Terry. I rarely call him Terry. It's usually, "Hey, hun," or something. He
Yep.
knows I'm talking to him, even though other nobody else is going to call him that. But we all have, you know, that just boggles my mind that we would think that Jesus doesn't know who we are, or that he wouldn't be so attuned with us that he wouldn't know when we were talking to him.
I've got friends that believe that so strongly that if they were to listen to this YouTube video we're making right now, that they would be highly upset and offended. And also concerned that I didn't understand my Bible correctly. Um, and also concerned that now that I know better, I didn't change.
Hmm.
But when you were talking about that hey hun thing, I just thought, yeah, you can go to a supermarket full of people and yell hey hun, and the right hun turns around.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Usually.
not like you get 100 of them going, what? Was it me?
Or as a mom, if I'm even though I know my kids aren't around, you hear, "Mom?" "Oh, that's not me." But
Um,
but Jesus knows who you're, God knows, when you're crying out to him. I mean, to me that would be sad to think of, that if I didn't say my prayers exactly the right way, that or follow the right formula, that he wouldn't listen.
I mean, there's lots of names for God in the Bible if we actually want to get technical about it.
Hmm.
And I don't feel like listing them all and bringing them all up because that wasn't the point of the
No.
conversation. The point was just that I spent so many years of my life concerned about praying out loud because the devil could hear.
Hmm.
It's a bit sad to look back on now and think about it. I don't know how it changed things, but I know it did because it speaks to an underlying fear, which then indicates, of course, a very small belief,
Hmm.
power of God.
Yeah. It just diminishes God's power over the world. I think sometimes many Christians give the devil too much credit, too much
Yeah,
power, that we God is way stronger than
I mean,
him.
the Bible does talk about, being aware and,
Sure.
rode around like a roaring lion and things like
Yep.
that. And those
Yep.
verses I think we should take seriously,
Hmm.
but they are a very small number of mentions compared to the number of times the power of God's mentioned.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you look at them as a fraction, but I just I don't know how I lived so many years of my life without stopping and going, huh. So if I can't pray out loud because he might hear, did much happen at the cross?
Right.
You
And
know, I
then
just,
so then if Satan can hear our prayers, then why are we praying out loud in church?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that question never came to me.
Uh,
Probably, but my brainwashed little brain was so busy trying to make sense of everything, there wasn't always room for questions, I suppose.
well, and if there was
Um,
any questions, you didn't question them because the questions were, you know, brighter minds than you have already figured it out. So why are you questioning? Just toe the line and do as you're told.
yes.
Hmm.
Too many questions speaks to doubt, and doubt is a sin.
Hmm.
It's funny. It's funny the places that things come from. So I've got a friend that left the Adventist church to become a Catholic. And so
Hmm.
she's a new Catholic. Of course, you know her. I won't mention her here just in case. And so she became a Catholic. She's still a fairly new Catholic. And it's just one of the things that just blows my mind is, especially with what I've been, told and believed growing up, is she's told me quite a few times now that she goes to confession. And I'm like, oh, confession. My little brain starts to wobble.
Yes.
Um, but then, but then cop this. My brain wanted to explode the first time she told me this. Seriously, my brain just exploded. She goes, so I went to see the priest and I confessed my sins. And the priest said to me, actually, those things aren't sins, they're just normal human failings. And my brain went, boom! And it was like, no, 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 they're sins. Um, and it's just, I think the first time she told me that was, and I mean, it's been a while now. I think I'm coming up 18 months. It'll be 2 years next March. Since I resigned my membership from the Adventist Church and started to try and learn what the Bible actually says about things.
Hmm.
And still, that wasn't one that had quite come to me. And it's just interesting to see how I think I've let go of lots of things, but there's still all when something like that happens, it indicates to me that there's still roots of things that I haven't recognized yet. And I expect it'll happen for years of my life. Every so often there'll be something and I'll think, oh, yeah, there's a root of something I'd forgotten about or I hadn't dug out and tossed away or whatever it is. But yeah, and it blew my mind to think that the Catholic Church, which I'd always been taught was really bad and punitive
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
stuff, was saying to my friend, it's not a sin. That's just a human failing. That's not a sin.
Hmm.
Um,
Did she happen to share with you what the things were that she confessed? And the priest was like, "Why are you confessing?" I'm
at
just
one point,
curious.
yes. At one point, yes, but I can't remember what they were. But maybe if there's enough people interested, we could ask her to come on the show and actually share some of the topics herself.
Yeah, that I
You know,
mean
I
that would be
confessed this, and
interesting.
the priest said that wasn't a sin. Um,
Huh.
because I feel like I grew up, which it it caused me to feel like I'd grown up in a culture where everything was a sin. And when I say that, I'm like, no, it wasn't that bad. But it sort of was.
Well, I mean, little things like, you and I are both sinning right now, according to Adventism,
Yep.
because
Because,
we've got earrings in.
oh, that's not my first thought. I thought we're sinning because we said something about the church which was discouraging, and that might put someone off attending, and then they might not meet God and get to heaven because they didn't attend the church because we
Because
said something,
we cause them to stumble.
and we caused them to stumble, and I should hang a rock around myself and commit suicide in a big pond.
Right.
Mum, one of my,
Yep.
I need to pull that up for you sometime, Carrie, because one of my friends actually has a different version of the Bible where that's translated straight from the Hebrew, and it's not the translation is actually quite different. I did write it down somewhere, but it was about 8 or 9 months ago, and I can't think where I wrote it or what it was. Just that it was mind-blowingly different to what we were taught.
Hmm.
Um,
so many of the of translations and things are so different. When you have a scholar that's well versed in the Greek and the Hebrew instead of, going to the King James Bible. But back to the Ellen White and the prayer thing. I did
yes.
find the quote one of the quotes I found. It says Satan cannot read our thoughts, but he can see our actions, hear our words, and from his long knowledge of the human family, he can shape his temptations to take advantage of our weak points of character, and how often we let him into the secret of how he may obtain the victory over us. Oh, that we might control our words and actions.
And
So,
see, that makes sort of sense when you say it. My brain's like, yeah, okay, yep, yep.
right? Yep.
But
But then it's like so every single thing so it to me it's okay, it's
then it
creepy.
doesn't make sense.
It
Initially it falls easily because of how I've grown up, and then it starts to go, yeah.
then it's like so we can't live our life without worrying about okay, what am I how am I showing the devil that for a very loose example, if you eat a piece of chocolate and you really enjoy it, he's gonna go, "Oh, Carrie likes chocolate. I'm gonna make sure she's really, really tempted and falls into the sin of gluttony by eating chocolate."
Yeah, well, I might need to confess that one because I had 8 pieces yesterday.
Oh, only eight? No.
2 rows, four squares in a row. And it must have been a glutton because I ate the whole of what was left in the chocolate bar. It had been in the fridge for a week.
Well, I mean, it had to be disposed of.
Yeah,
So,
maybe not
it's just
there.
it compiles it just piles on more of that constant self-policing and constant self-monitoring of what you're saying and what you're doing and overthinking every single conversation you have with somebody, every single interaction. Like if I say something wrong or look at somebody sideways, they're not going to want to come to my church. Or if it's crazy making all of this worry. Not only are we worried about other humans watching us, we're worried about the devil looking at us and going, "Ooh, I know what her weak spot is, so this is how I'm going to attack her next."
Yeah, we'll see. Uh, I've had complex PTSD most of my life, and it's generally I've had therapy for it, and it's all under control. So that's why I went and worked in the field because a lot of
Mhm.
people try to work in it when they don't have a clue what they're doing.
Right.
But so all those things that the church taught that you just spoke about, they come easily to me because hypervigilance and all that other stuff is just, everything
Rel
you said is just
Religious scrupulosity.
it just fits right in there.
Yeah, and when you tell people who've never dealt with the things that we've dealt with, and they're like, "What? That makes no sense. Why? Why?" And my husband and I, when we share some of our belief systems with from Adventism and things that we were, and they just look at us like that doesn't make any sense. So unless we have conversations, there's another couple that we get together with occasionally, and they came out of a different high demand religion, and they get us better than anybody else does because they've been from, it's not the same one, kind of close to Mennonite, but not really,
Yeah.
similar-ish. And so, talking to them is refreshing because it might not be the same crazy that we had, but you know, there's enough
They
in common
understand
that
how crazy
yeah,
impacts.
yeah,
And they understand that it didn't feel crazy when it was the only normal you knew.
yes, yes,
It's only crazy when you look back.
yeah. And now you look back at it and you're going, that was, does God really care if I accidentally have a little bit of bacon in my salad? You know,
Maybe.
maybe we're still working on you, Danny. It's okay.
I I still yeah.
No, it's fine. I totally
The,
get it.
the furthest I've got with meat is chicken tenders from the supermarket and all crumbed and put in the air fryer, so probably still not real meat. Chicken pie.
I just had a hot dog for dinner.
And we all know that some forms of fish isn't a sin, so fish has always been a little bit here and there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
As
It's
long as it doesn't taste or smell like fish, I can get it down.
yes, breaded, deep fried with a lot of tartar sauce. It's good.
Yeah.
That's what we had there. But it's, I mean, it's so refreshing to really not have to police yourself all of the time, with just with
Well,
everything.
I stopped eating my favorite cakes about probably 50. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Unless I make my own. So, do you know what a Lemington is? Most of my American friends don't know what a Lemington is. Okay, so a proper Lemington is actually made from a recipe called a Victorian sponge. So the
Okay.
ones they make in the bakeries here and in Australia, they're not real Lemingtons because they're light, fluffy sponge cake. A
Hmm.
Victorian sponge is a heavy, dense sponge made with um, the sugar in it's almost still crunchy. It's such it's not
Hmm.
made with a fine powdered sugar or anything. So it's a really heavy, dense sponge. And you cut it into little squares. And then you get your cocoa powder and your icing sugar and everything, and you mix it up till you get this really, and you make it hot. And you get a fork, two forks, and you put these squares in hot chocolate sauce.
Hmm.
And it soaks about quarter of an inch into the really dense, heavy sponge all the way around the outside. Then you pull it out of the hot chocolate with your forks and you put it on a little tray and it cools. And what happens is the chocolate sets hard and crunchy and it actually keeps the cake fresh for like weeks because no air
Hmm.
can get into it.
Hmm.
And then and the chocolate's just divine. Don't forget to
Mm.
tell you rolled it in coconut.
Oh.
Chocolate coconut. Oh, and then the best way to eat them is sliced in half with whipped cream.
Mm.
So anyway, Lemingtons are my favorite food. And I stopped eating Lemingtons probably 15 years ago when I discovered that the ones you got in the supermarkets and the bakeries these days, they do it really cheap and they cheat and they put gelatin in the chocolate so they can make it stick and
Yep.
they just get a thin coating on their light, fluffy sponge, which isn't
Yep.
correct. And so I stopped eating Lemingtons for years because there was gelatin
Mm.
in holding the chocolate on my cake.
See, we never, my mom, we've always just done the gelatin. We'd never worried about that stuff.
No, I always had vegetarian jello
The
and
kosher stuff.
oh and they have these things over here called vanilla slices. It's like a baked custard cheesecakey type thing, and it's put
Hmm.
between thin layers of pastry with vanilla icing. And I mean, they're amazing. And I stopped eating those years ago as well because there were gelatin in them. And then about 8 years ago, I discovered some that were made without gelatin. They were just baked with eggs and custard powder and stuff. And so
Hmm.
I used to pay the extra for them.
Hmm.
Of course, I shouldn't be eating cake at all, but because sugar's a sin anyway. And Ellen White says you shouldn't ever have your sugar with milk. Sugar and milk together are really bad. And then there's a thing
Oh
about
yeah,
when
I
they put
probably heard that once or twice.
powder in. Um, so I was sinning anyway. And so
For
it's
the most
just
most part, my family and my extended family were pretty moderate. I've got a
simple. Oh, sorry.
got a couple. What's that?
I said, you said, for the most part, my family and extended family were pretty, and I said sinful.
Pretty sinful. Yeah, yeah. I mean, for reality, yeah. I mean, according to the really conservative Adventists, yes. Yep. Pretty sinful. For the most part. But yeah, it's.
So I don't believe all that stuff anymore.
Hmm.
And it's just, it's, yeah, it's weird to sit here and think that I gave up things I really liked because I didn't want to sin to discover they were never sins to start with.
Well,
See,
most of the
imagine if
human failings.
I'd just gone and talked to a priest, he might have told me.
Yeah,
It's a human failing to crave sugar that has a bit of gelatin holding the chocolate on. Don't worry about it.
yeah. Have
It's just,
one. Maybe
it's
just
it's
don't have
non
12.
non-issues. Non-issues.
Oh, he's back, the fluffy one. What? Yes.
Non-issues. It's just so that's just a little side rabbit hole. My biggest concern, I guess, and what I wanted to bring up because I was just curious, like I said earlier, to see how many of our listeners have heard similar things. It was
Mhm.
just, I can't even remember when it changed, but at some point, of course, the whole prayer thing did change.
Mhm.
Um, so I can't remember when it changed, but I do know that for 95% of my current life, I was always very careful what I said or prayed out loud to God because the devil could hear it.
Mm.
And I just think that's really sad.
Yeah, it is.
Imagine, I mean, it's okay. I hadn't even finished. I just thought I'd talk to you about this weird belief I had. But now that I'm talking about this weird belief that I got taught as an Adventist, which you had also heard but partly ignored, and my other friends have listened to,
Hmm.
it occurs to me, this is crazy, okay? So if this is supposed to be a relationship thing, imagine if, like, it's different because my sweetheart doesn't have any mind reading powers and he's not omnipresent. But imagine if I spent my whole life thinking I have to be really careful what I say to my sweetheart that I'm out loud because something might hear. Something might hear. I don't know, the cell phone or the microwave might be listening.
Which is legitimate concern these days, honestly, but we digress.
Yeah, well, there was that thing I did actually, seriously. Oh no, I was paranoid for quite a long time because there was a whole big thing in the newspapers over here that someone had hacked into the cameras on Samsung televisions and eavesdropped on people's conversations. And of course, my television's not connected to the internet,
Hmm.
and I don't know. But still, I mean, when you grow up in a paranoid religion, these other little paranoias are pretty easy to just pick up as well. They tap, they attach to the edges of a fear that's already real.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And throw into that the time that I forgot to hang up. I forgot to hang up the phone properly, the cell phone, because it was hard to find the hang up button while we were driving. And I thought I hung up, but I didn't. And then I continued to talk to my sweetheart about the person I'd been speaking to on the phone. Lucky I didn't say anything bad about them because I liked them, but still, that's just, that added to
Oopsies.
it as well.
Oopsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but I just, oh, don't get me started. I feel like I grew up in a church where there always was somebody listening.
Mhm.
Now that you mention it, my mum used to sneak and read my diaries, so I had to stop writing things in them. That felt like somebody was listening.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. You probably had to be careful if there was two phones in your house that if you were on the phone with somebody that she might not be on the other.
Yeah, I've had issues with that. But anyway, outside of that, I just
Yeah.
yeah, life's weird.
Well, and I think now it's just refreshing because I know for myself, I feel like I have more freedom to be who I am. I'm still working on figuring out who that is, because I'm in just a very different stage of life than I was 5 years ago. My kids are grown. I'm, now not in a high demand religion anymore. So the world is my oyster.
Uh, Maybe not 5 years ago because um I didn't. Yeah, we live an hour out of town and we've been here for 5 years at least now, and so getting to church over COVID and stuff just didn't happen,
Yeah, yeah.
which turned out to be a blessing
Hmm.
because the break from it, I think, gave more space in my brain for God to influence me and teach me truths that when I look back now, I can see that God's been trying to tell me some of these truths for 25, 30 years. But I was still actively attending church and actively being brainwashed every week, and there just wasn't space for this stuff. Not actively being brainwashed, living in a state of fear and hypervigilance because of all the end time theology and things like that. Didn't leave. When you're looking at every single thing that happens,
Hmm.
thinking, is this it? Is this it? Is this the sign? It's going to happen before I die. There's no space. There's no space, and we did a whole program on this early, way back in the beginning, the fears that are used to control us. So as
Hmm.
long as those fears that are used to control us are being activated, there's no space in your brain for higher reasoning.
Yeah.
There's no space in your prefrontal cortex for those higher reasoning things when when your reptilian brain is continually being stimulated and put into places of fear and stuff. And so when I look back, I can see 25, 30 years back, times when God was trying to show me these truths, but they were drowned out by things. Um, but you go back 10 years and I would never have had this conversation with you because to speak the name of the devil more than once in a conversation was to attract his attention.
Hmm. I hadn't heard that one either.
Well, it's not, you're not supposed to talk about him. I mean, he really likes it.
Oh, sure. Well, of course. I mean, we all like being when people talk about us as long as it's nice.
Um, he doesn't care apparently, as long as he's getting attention. So that was a no-go thing. Didn't you get taught that one as well? You're not supposed to talk about him or give him overly much attention, Carrie.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. It'll be interesting to see who else got that one too. That's when I didn't ask my friends. So 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even had this conversation. I really like my life so much more now.
I know, me too. It's just so much more pleasant. You don't feel like, and because you talked about, you're so the reptilian brain, I think you're so worried about survival, that you can't just enjoy life because the end's coming, and it's, no, I think we need to slow down, relax, enjoy life. Yes, I do believe at some point the world will come to an end. But I also believe that we have time here on this earth to enjoy it, you know?
Well,
Hard to enjoy it when you're paranoid all the time.
you're not supposed to enjoy it too much. You're supposed to be getting ready for heaven, Carrie. Did they not teach you anything when you were attending church?
Apparently not. I was, too busy not listening, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm hoping our listeners realize that was sarcasm.
I'll have to tell my husband he wasn't preaching the right sermons then, I guess.
Yep, that's the one.
That's the one. That's the one. Well, I think
I,
we probably need to wrap it
yeah.
up for this conversation, but I think I mean, we talked about prayer, we talked about baked goods, we talked about all kinds of fun things, but I think we're both expressing the joy and the new freedom that we have that we never had before. As far as figuring out who we are in Christ, who we are on our own, I mean, just figuring things out, and
I ate a Lemington yesterday on my way home from town. I
was
was
it
driving my car and I wrapped a towel around my neck to catch the coconut crumbs, and it wasn't as good as the ones I can make at home, but I enjoyed every mouthful, and not once did I even think about gelatin sticking the chocolate to it until right this instant when I'm explaining it to you.
when I make it to New Zealand, and I will at some point in the next few years, you're gonna make me some Lemingtons, okay?
Oh, they're amazing. But yeah, you're right, new freedoms.
New freedoms,
And
and it's delightful. It's just it's life is just so much better. So much better,
yeah.
you know. So, and on that note, everybody like, comment, subscribe, tell us some of your stories about some of maybe the weird beliefs you feel like you used to have that you've been very happy to say goodbye to as far as prayer and the devil and what you could eat, I mean, there's always stuff to talk about. So, we'll see you
And
all.
if you really want to talk about it, feel free to send us a note and come on
Yep.
and share your experience live.
Yes, of course. Well, we'll see everybody on the next conversation with Carrie and Dani. Take care. Bye, everyone.